There is so much talk right now about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the future of Mike Tomlin and whether or not he's going to stay, whether or not he wants to stay, and whether or not the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to ask him to stay. The head coach is under contract through 2027, but as things continue to go downhill and the Pittsburgh Steelers continue to sink once again, there are theories all over the place on if the Steelers want to keep Mike Tomlin and if Mike Tomlin wants to stay with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, if he doesn't, and if they don't, there are options out there. And one of our buddies tossed out an option, or 5 of them, that make a lot of sense for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Names that are likely on everyone's list this offseason. Names that could get you a little bit excited if the Steelers chose to go in a different direction. What's going on, everybody? I'm Noah Strackbine. Thank you for jumping on to another episode of Steelers to Go, your daily dose of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/allsteelerstalk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. Before we get going, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. I also want to take a quick moment and say thank you and happy holidays to you and your loved ones. It's a great moment to sit here and express to all of you that this does not happen without you. And I and the entire team cannot express and share how grateful we are and have been for all of the support, all of the love, and honestly, all of the sometimes pushback to be better. We need it all, and we can't thank you guys. I hope everyone enjoys the holiday with their loved ones, eats plenty of food, watches some good football, and whatever side of the AFC North battle you are rooting for, go Bengals. It turns out in your favor. Let's talk about our buddy Jacob Punturi, who released a list today on 5 head coaching candidates that could replace Mike Tomlin if the Pittsburgh Steelers chose to move on from him, and if Mike Tomlin chose to move on from the Pittsburgh Steelers. It starts with a name in Indianapolis, a name that has Daniel Jones, well, looking like an MVP candidate, a name that has Jonathan Taylor as the best running back in the NFL, a guy that has quickly turned an organization that has plenty of questions into one of the top teams in the NFL. And the Indianapolis Colts are not as red hot as they once were, but they are still hot. They are still going to win their division, and they are still going to be a threat in the postseason. And their offensive coordinator, Jim Bob Cooter, may be a guy who is on every team's list in 2026 for a head coaching job. Cooter makes a lot of sense for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's young. He's only 41 years old. He comes from an offense who just found resurgence in a quarterback who has been able to develop a running game, and that's what the Steelers are obviously going to look for. You don't always have an Aaron Rodgers, and everybody's eyes and attention are going to be on the next quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. But truthfully, the Steelers are always going to follow the same philosophy, and they're always going to be a run the damn ball type of football team. Jim Bob Cooter is a run the damn ball type of offensive coordinator, and you got to believe he'd be a run the damn ball type of head coach. That fits what the Steelers are looking for. And Jonathan Taylor is really good, and that offensive line is really good. Don't get me wrong, but I think Jaylen Warren is a good running back, and I think the Steelers' offensive line has the key pieces involved in it already to become a very good offensive line and to develop into that. And if you have a head coach who takes those strides to make those players better, you could have the foundation for a running game that, I mean, makes everyone excited. Everyone excited. And maybe Jaylen Warren doesn't turn into Jonathan Taylor, but if he turns into a 1,000+ runner every single season that's averaging over 4 yards a carry and is scoring touchdowns, it's going to open up a world of opportunity for your next quarterback to succeed. Jim Bob Cooter makes a lot of sense, and he'll be on a lot of people's lists this offseason. So will this second guy. He's not an offensive or defensive coordinator. He was a Pittsburgh Steelers offensive coordinator candidate in the offseason, but didn't get the job over Arthur Smith. That's Thomas Brown, tight ends coach and passing game coordinator for the New England Patriots. And tight ends coach is awesome. When you make Hunter Henry look great, cool. But when you make Drake May look good as a passing game coordinator, when you're able to conduct an offense that does not have a star wide receiver, but is being able to play like they have a bunch of star wide receivers and maybe the next great quarterback in the NFL, you're going to get attention. Thomas Brown never really got an opportunity to shine the last time he was given an opportunity to shine in Carolina. And it was because, well, Carolina wasn't good and they were flip-flopping coaches and quarterbacks and everything else as fast as they possibly can. Thomas Brown's a guy that now has the expertise and the ability to put himself on the map, and he's doing that in New England, and he looks very good in doing it in New England. I think Thomas Brown is going to be one of the hottest names on the market this offseason. And if the Steelers are truly looking for a guy who wants to develop a quarterback and who's good at developing quarterbacks, I mean, he makes so much sense to go out there and say, let's give this guy an opportunity. Let's bring him in from New England, and let's not go with the traditional offensive defensive coordinator route, but instead go with the guy who's probably been waiting for his opportunity, who teams have already considered to fill a vacancy, but he probably didn't have the resume at the time to actually fill that vacancy. Now he does. Now Drake May looks fantastic, and the New England Patriots are the best team in the NFL. And Thomas Brown, he's got to be on a list for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll flip-flop to the other side of the football. Kelvin Shepard is your third candidate, defensive coordinator out of Detroit. And let me tell you, when you're 37 years old, when you take over for Aaron Glenn and your defense still looks nasty, well, people are going to look and they're going to notice. Kelvin Shepard was a guy that was able to learn and grow under Aaron Glenn and Dan Campbell, and I think that that is significant. That's the part of this that makes so much sense for any team, especially the Pittsburgh Steelers, is he is a guy that took a lot of the same track as Mike Tomlin did. He learned from a fantastic head coach. He learned from fantastic coordinators, and then he got his opportunity to be a defensive coordinator, looks really good in the process. Next step, obviously, is for him to be a head coach in the NFL. And if the Steelers are looking defensive-minded coaches, I think he makes the most sense as a guy that you take a shot in the dark on, a guy that you're looking at and saying, he doesn't have a whole ton of experience. He's not a guy that's been around the map as a defensive coordinator all over the place, and now he just finally is getting a shot as a head coach. No, he's the maybe next great defensive mind in the NFL, and you're looking to take an opportunity and see if that pans out. You want to represent Mike Tomlin again? You want to redo the Mike Tomlin era and hopefully do it better? Well, Kelvin Shepard is a name to watch. And then we'll finish off the list with two more here. One offensive, one defensive. Jesse Minter, 42 years old, defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Chargers, learning under good old Jim Harbaugh and what's up, AST Nation? I've teamed up with DraftKings. The next great touchdown is coming, and you can bet on it. And the best way to do so is through DraftKings Sportsbook, where new customers bet $5 and get $200 if your bet wins, paid in bonus bets. It's almost playoff time, which means now is the perfect time to keep it trucking. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has got you covered. Bet live on in-progress games right as they happen. Then use your bonus bets to stay in on the action and bet DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. And don't worry, if sports betting is not yet available in your state, you're fine. You can still join in on all of the fun with DraftKings daily fantasy sports and have the shot to win cash prizes. New customers bet $5 and get $200 if your bet wins, paid in bonus bets. Sign up using my promo code AllSteelers and get in on the action. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Defense that the Steelers saw firsthand is excellent. Excellent. And maybe deserves a bigger spotlight than what they are getting. I think Jesse Minter is a guy that probably gets looks every year until he actually gets a head coaching job. He is going to be on everybody's list every single offseason, but depending on the amount of vacancies will depend on how or if he gets an opportunity. Jesse Minter is a guy who has a ton of new knowledge in the NFL. He brings new schemes and new ways to deploy players that I think works really, really well. On top of that, he's had success with guys who are a little bit older. And I think the Steelers have a defense full of guys that are young and a little bit older. And I think that works. Jesse Minter is a guy that if Kelvin Shep, the fallback feel-good option for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then we'll finish it off with the young gun. You really are taking a shot on the next young, great head coach in the NFL and hoping that it works. And that's Josh Grizzard, offensive coordinator from Tampa Bay, a guy that's just 35 years old, but has Baker Mayfield as an MVP candidate. Once again, he has the entire offense looking great without some very noticeable pieces. And, well, he's learned from two pretty good offensive coordinators who have become head coaches in Liam Cohen and David Canals. I mean, why wouldn't you just look at Tampa Bay and say, maybe, just maybe, the Steelers find the next guy out of Tampa that's also going to succeed. Maybe that's the next coaching tree that the NFL is looking at, and the Steelers can jump on board of that next coaching tree. Because Liam Cohen, if he had honestly, a better quarterback, would be a better team, and this team would look really good. And David Canals is, well, making the most out of a Carolina team that was absolutely nothing not too long ago, and he has somehow turned him into a playoff contender, not every week, but some weeks. I mean, you look at a Josh Grizzard and you say, can this be the next guy? Can this be the next big name in the NFL? And if so, are the Steelers willing to take a chance on that guy? That's 5. And I think that 5 is very impressive. Obviously, they're all NFL guys. Obviously, there's no Marcus Freeman or those big giant names that everybody's going to talk about. But to be honest with you, Don Shula is going to get a job somewhere. Marcus Freeman's going to get a boatload of offers. If the Steelers are looking for guys that will be on the market when they make the decision, which will not be at the beginning of the offseason, but rather after lots of conversation, well, these are 5 names that are probably going to be available that the Pittsburgh Steelers should look at and may look at. And if they do, well, things could get pretty exciting. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of Steelers to Go, your daily dose of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/allsteelerstalk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button before you head out of here. Can't thank you enough for that. Once again, I hope everybody enjoys their holiday, and I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, enjoy another beautiful day in the Burgh.